Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Grants and Contracts with my co host Lainey and myself. My name is Abraham. We're excited to be here with you. If you are joining us live, welcome to the live session of the Grants and Contract podcast, where we talk about how to succeed through grants and contracts, whether you're in the commercial market, the private sector, or whether you're in the government market, federal, state, and local, or you're doing work for foundations. This is the podcast where we talk about funding for your organizations, whether you're for profit or nonprofit. And today's topic, we're going to talk about how the Grinch stole funding. And so my co-host Lainey is here, and so she's going to take us a little back to memory lane about how the Grinch stole Christmas, but we're going to talk about it from the how the Grinch stole funding. So Lainey, take away and tell us, remind us some of the older folks like me, our stories from younger years when we were around. So
Yes. So, hi, everyone. Welcome back. So glad that you're here with us. I had to remind Abe this morning a little bit about what the story of the Grinch is and a little bit overview. Your homework tonight is actually to go watch the movie. So please go do that. It's one of my favorites. But the Grinch is a green character, and the background of his story is that when he was born, the stork that was supposed to bring him to his mother dropped him. And instead, he landed in Whoville, which the Who's do not, they kind of look like normal people and they're not green, fluffy monsters. So he was dropped in Whoville, raised in Whoville, and he's always kind of been an outcast. And the idea of the Grinch stealing Christmas is he does not like happiness. He is miserable and he wants everyone else to be miserable around him. And so, specifically at Christmas, the Who's are extra full of Christmas cheer. They sing, they decorate, they have lights, all the things. And he does not like that. So, he comes up with this idea that to stop the cheer of Christmas, he is going to steal Christmas. He's going to dress up as Santa. He's going to go in his sleigh with his dog. You've seen the little dog. And he's going to steal Christmas. And he does that. But then as he's stealing Christmas, he starts to realize that Christmas is not about presents. So he thought he could steal Christmas from the presents. It's about the idea of family and joy and a cheer that comes from within. So then he goes back on his plan. He returns all the gifts and he celebrates Christmas, and the Who's invite him in. And the ending of the story, not to be a spoiler, but his heart, they said that he didn't have a heart. He had too small of a heart when he was born, and instead it grew like 10 sizes, and he lived happily ever after. So that's our idea today of how the Grinch stole funding. And did he steal your funding, or is there more to the story? So I'm really excited to get started. I want to say, if you stick around, we're going to have some nice bonuses. I'll share with you a little sneak peek of the bonus that we're going to have. If you wait to the end, we like to do a drawing, and who knows, we might feel extra cheerful today and do more than one. So this is our freebie for the day. And we'll be drawing later. Make sure that you are posting your name and telling us where you're from, joining in from, and we're really excited to see everybody.
well, Lainey, I am excited about sharing of how the Grinch stole funding. And really what we're going to be talking about is this here. Sometimes you feel like you missed out, or sometimes you feel like someone stole your opportunity or stole your contract or your grant that you're supposed to have received. And there's some challenges in this world where it's a competitive environment, and you're always searching for the right opportunities for the right funding. Sometimes you feel like it was yours, but it didn't happen. And I want to kick us off by telling this quick story about how I felt the Grinch stole my funding. And it's really not my funding, but let me kind of go into the story here. You guys will relate to what I'm sharing here. So back in the days, I was investor in real estate, and we found this opportunity. It was this house. The pricing was right. It was like 79,000 for a house in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And so I get there that morning about 10 o'clock, and I go in there, and it's a hoarder's house. And you're talking about trash and all kinds of junk. And I walk into the front door is locked, so I walk through the side. And as I go into the side door, there's a trail of dirt that has been piled up. And you can see that dirt starts to stack up for somebody kept on walking over the same path over the years. And so there's a layer of caked in dirt walking into the house itself. And I walk in, I'm bombarded by layers of trash and this hoarder's house here. And I thought, there's nothing good in here. And so I said, but I'm here. Let me take a look at this. So I walked through the house and through all the junk. Now, for me, it was for some of you, it might be waist high. For me, it was neck high, right? Because I'm not that tall. So I'm going through this house here. I finally get to the end of the house. There's a bedroom in the back, and I open up the drawer, this dresser, and there was about 5 drawers in it, and about 3 of these drawers was filled with jewelry. I'm talking about pearl necklaces, diamond rings, Rolex watches. This hoarder has been hoarding all of these jewels, all of these jewelry, and it was filled in 2 and 3 of the drawers were filled with it. And I thought, these jewels are worth more than the house itself. So I called the real estate agent. I said, I want to put an offer on this house. I've got my earnest money ready. I'm ready to move forward. And the agent said, unfortunately, someone just put a bid. They just put an offer right before you. And I felt so hurt because, so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to take all the jewelry. I'm going to stuff it into a pillowcase. I took an old pillowcase. I stuffed all, and it was like, it filled up the pillowcase. And I said, and I thought for a moment that I'm just going to walk out of that house with all that jewelry. And then I said, I don't want to do that because, it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. So I can't do that. So it's not in my character to just walk out with all that jewelry. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hide it in the closet. And I'm going to tell the agent that I want to be the backup offer. And hopefully that first offer doesn't go through, and all this house becomes mine and all the jewelry becomes mine. But it never happened because whoever bid on it, they won, and I never saw that jewelry. So the Grinch stole my jewelry in this story here.
So, Abe, would you think that maybe instead of someone stealing your jewelry, it was that instead you were 2 hours late to the project and that you yourself did not allow it to have?
Well, that's probably, now that I'm thinking about it, there's probably some truth to that, right? Because maybe the Grinch didn't steal my jewelry. Maybe I was too late to the party. And so that, and sometimes we feel that way, right? And for us, sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes we make mistakes along this journey of trying to find the right contract with the right grant, and maybe some challenges happen. And so, Leighton, why don't we dive in and talk about common mistakes and talk about sometimes we feel that in this world of grants and contracts that we missed out, but it's really not necessarily, sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes we just don't understand. Sometimes maybe many different reasons. So why don't we dive in and talk about common mistake, common misconception about funding opportunities?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest ones is one of the ones you just said is being too late to the party. So, not necessarily getting your submission in late, because we know that that is never a good thing, and we have not a lot of times seen that work out in our good, but being too late on the research side, not having time to probably put your proposal together, not having time to do the pricing, or just missing it all together and saying, oh my goodness, that was the perfect opportunity for me, and I just missed it. Like, that's just what happened. No one's stealing your funding, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, we that's a true story. We were on, at GCA, we don't bid on a lot of projects, but there was this one company that I was supporting, and they wanted us to be part of the project management side to it. And so the USDA was putting out a lot of grants related to helping businesses, or more so farmers, and
Mhm.
the what they call food desert communities. And so so they gave out this. They want someone to manage a contract, but really, actually, they treat it as a grant. They want someone to manage that grant, and they want to put food to the food desert communities. And so our teaming partner, we spent about 3 weeks putting together this proposal, and she went into the portal to submit, and she submitted 1 minute late.
No.
And
No.
we didn't get even consideration because it was submitted 1 minute late.
Yeah, as my husband always says, I naturally run late, and that makes him really upset. So he always, if we get to church, and we get to church at 10:58, our church starts at 11. He says, "Early is on time, and on time is late." And so I think that that can really translate with the contract world. And I, as a rule of thumb, if at all possible, I like to get it in the day before, even 2 days before, because I think a funder is gonna have a lot more grace on you if you're calling them 2, 3 days before saying, "Hey, I can't log into my portal. It's giving me a decline. It's giving me a message," than if you're calling them at 4:30 on a Friday and the grant's due at 5 p.m. They're not gonna have a lot of grace, and probably they're gonna turn their phone off. They're not even gonna answer your phone calls, and it's just too late. So I always like to have that rule of thumb of getting in a couple. I like to do days. Some people do hours. I like days because it gives you just that, you know, you've got some space for mess ups.
Yeah. So my suggestion, right, in terms of submitting things on a timely manner, the my suggestion, if it's a paper submission, then submit it. If it's due on Friday and today is Wednesday, you want to send it up on Wednesday, overnight it, so that it gets there on Thursday, at least one day in advance. If it's a physical paper submission. If it's online submission, if it's a portal, you want to do it the day before as well. Now, if it's an email submission, you want to do about 4 to 5 hours before the email deadline itself. So that's just some tip. Opportunities, you miss out opportunities because you don't do it in a timely manner. Now, what are some other mistakes that people make out there, Lainey?
I think a big mistake that I see is not aligning yourself with agencies' missions and goals. So maybe you look at a project, you don't research it fully, and you apply for it, and you are not a candidate for the project. It said, for example, let's say that it's a grant and it says that only 501c3s can apply. You don't have your 501c3 and you still apply. Well, personally, I think that that just, you kind of leave a bad taste in the person's mouth that's applying, because they say, can they not read simple directions? Are they not able to see what's going on? Or, for example, if this is a set aside only for small businesses and you are not a small business, or if it's only for women on small business and you're not a woman on small business, you're not reading directions, and that's just setting a precedence of not looking good.
Yeah, the opportunities are out there, right?
Mhm.
There's this year the federal government awarded $700 billion in terms of contracts, and they awarded $1.2 trillion in grants.
Yeah.
So opportunities are there. The challenge is being prepared, right? So and being responsive, and but as we prepare that side of it, then we also have to do the research to understand what are the specific missions of the agency. And practically, we bid on a proposal. We submitted a proposal this last week. And again, GCA, we don't submit a lot of projects, but this one's exactly up our alley. So the state of Hawaii received a $825,000 grant, and they wanted to, and this is just a fact for the state of Hawaii. Their GDP, number two on their GDP list is federal is DoD spending. Every single military has a presence in the state of Hawaii, and so their GDP highly depends on contracts from the Department of Defense itself. As a result of that, CMMC, which for some of you, if you are whether you're in the if you're in the doing any type of work for federal agencies, or if you're doing work for publicly traded company, through Sarbanes-Oxley and those regulations, they're going to start implementing CMMC requirements. And if you are not set up for CMMC level 1 at a minimum, you may not be able to bid on some private sector subcontracting work or some federal directly with DoD or directly with prime contractors doing DoD work. So State of Hawaii understands that CMMC is a big deal. CMMC stands for Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And so they were concerned that if this new regulation comes and they're what they call the defense industrial base, their contractors over there is not prepared for CMMC, they're going to lose out on these opportunities, and out of state companies that are prepared will come into Hawaii and will start taking over some of these contracts. So that was their concern. So this $825,000 grant, they wanted someone to come and teach and train the business community there about CMMC. But at the same time, they wanted a company or an organization like GCA to come and train them how to win government contracts or DoD contracts. And so this company, they do CMMC training. They came to us and they said, can you be part of this here with us? And I share that for this here. As we were writing the proposal, the very beginning of the proposal, I stated this here. We understand, our team understands that the DoD spending is the second most important GDP revenue source for your small business community. And our solution will help you achieve these goals here. So you have to understand your audience. You have to understand the agency. You have to understand the foundation that you're working with, their mission, and then speak to how your mission aligns with their mission and how you can fulfill their mission by them giving you this grant or this contract here.
Yeah, and I think definitely like correlating to that is this idea of answering the question that's asked. I see this a lot in grant writing, and I've talked to funders about this, and how to achieve good grant writing. And that's the idea of, if somebody asks you what, I feel like sometimes it's going back to elementary writing. I know we would always have to do this when we were in school, is they would say, what color is the sky? And you repeat back the question in your answer. So the sky is blue, which that's an easy one. But if they're asking about your mission, if they're asking about what your motivators are, what your budget is, I think a good rule of thumb is repeating back that question, even if it's just in your draft and you end up taking that back, but to keep your train of thought of what they're asking. Yes, sometimes it is good that they need some more information, but sometimes I read grants that have not won, and their problem is that they didn't answer the question. They wanted to give them as much information as possible, but not the information that they were specifically asking for in that question. And I've seen a lot too, and I'm interested, Abe, if you've seen it on the contract side, but when you get to the end of the grant, it'll say, do you have any additional comments or anything else that has not been mentioned in this grant that you would like to add? And that's a perfect time. If you have a statistic that did not go anywhere else, put it there. If there is some program that you weren't able to fully explain, but you want to explain it, put it there. And that way you're giving the additional information, but you're not annoying them with answering a question not with the answer that they wanted.
The way we respond, whether it's grants or proposals, is this here. The organization is gonna, or the agency or foundation or organization is gonna ask, I want A, B, C. So they're gonna tell you exactly what they want. Your response, the mistake that people make is, I will give you A, B, and C. That's it, right? They don't go beyond that. They will say, if you want this, I will give you that. So they ask the what. So in your response, you have to address it from, I will give you what, but you have to answer who, how, and why. Who is this is who we are, and we have 20 years of experience doing this type of work. And so you talk about who you are, and then you talk about why they should choose you, what makes you different, what makes you separate from everybody else, what unique value you're going to bring to the table. And then you want to talk about, so you talk about who, adding, because they want the what. You talk about who, you want to talk about why they should choose you, all the key differentiators that you have, and you want to talk about the how. This is how we're going to give it to you. This is why, or this is how our methodology works. This is our management approach to this here. This is our technical approach to this here. And so it has to address that. But you don't want to go too far from that, because the other mistake is what Lainey and I are talking about, right? You give them too much, and then now they're confused.
Yeah.
So you save. If they want ABC, you give them ABC and you answer the questions. But then if you have a better solution or better alternative, then you say that to the additional comment. Would they say, is there any other additional comments or any other additional consideration related to this here? Then you can say, by the way, there is, you're asking for Windows 8. That is like, 2 decades old. We recommend using the latest version of Windows, which is Windows 11. And so if you're doing something very technical and they ask for an older technology, you have to give them what they ask for.
Yeah.
Even though there's a better technology, a better solution. If they want a certain management approach, give them that management approach. There is a reason why they ask for it. And then in the additional comment, you can say, oh, by the way, we have a recommendation because this is the reason why we're recommending this here, but we're going to give you what you asked for. Should you have a additional consideration and want to further discuss this additional consideration, then after award, we can talk about this.
Yeah. So Abe, I want to ask you this. Is there anything that I can do if I have a contract, it gets rejected? Do I just have to cut my losses and move forward? Or is there anything I can do to reach out to the agency?
If you submitted a grant, submitted a proposal, and you did not win, then, pray hard, right? Maybe the next time. No, there's actually other things you can do, right? Outside of, taking it to the creator and asking for his favor or the creator's favor. No, there's other things you can do. When you submit a proposal, that is the perfect opportunity to use that as a way to build relationships. Here's what I mean by that. When you submit a grant or a proposal and you did not win, that's your opportunity to learn more of why you didn't win. And so in the contract world, it's called a debrief. You can ask for a debrief. And the regulation says that when you are notified that you're not the recipient, you have 3 days to ask for a debrief. And a debrief is codified as a rule for almost all federal opportunities. And you just say, hey, but your tone is very important. What a contracting officer does not want is they don't want an angry person, the angry Asian man that didn't win, who's going to come and protest on this project here. They don't want that, right? They want to come and so your approach to that is you want to say, we understand that we weren't chosen on this here, but we know that your agency historically has awarded over $50 million in exactly what we do. And we want to support you long-term into future projects. So we kindly ask for a 15-minute debrief to learn how we can better respond to this here, to learn what we did well, and to learn who the incumbent is so that we can better support your agency into the future. So very gentle, but asking for a debrief. Now, this is, they are required to respond to you when you ask for a debrief. Now, some contractor also will ignore the regulation and they will not give it to you, but they're supposed to respond to you, and they really technically have 5 days from the time you ask to give you a debrief. My suggestion is don't hold them to the 5 days because these are busy people.
Yeah.
And then you also want to ask for how you ask for debrief is important. You can ask, they can give you a debrief by an email debrief. They can give you a debrief by a in-person meeting. They can give you a debrief by a phone conversation. They can give you a debrief by an online meeting. 80% of federal workers, federal employees are not going into the office. So you don't want to ask for an in-person debrief because you're probably never going to get that. And to them, that's cumbersome to them. You want to ask for a debrief for 15 minutes using an online Zoom meeting or online, just tell them it's an online meeting. And then most of them will give it to you if you ask it that way.
Yeah, and I've seen the same on the grant side of if it's a federally funded opportunity, it kind of runs with the same, rules. If you ask, they're gonna kind of tell you with it. With foundations, there's not rules like that. They don't have to tell you what's going on, but it's just coming with them and saying, I really want to partner with your organization. I love your mission. I love what you do. Kind of relating that back to them and just saying, what could I have done better for next time? Maybe it's that you didn't answer once again, going back to answering the questions. Maybe it's just a simple thing of, hey, we have a rolling basis and we were actually already filled by time you submitted your application, but we would love for you to apply next time. Well, next time, you know that as soon as it opens, you need to get your application in and you're able to put that on your schedule for the next year. Or I've seen some organizations, they have rolling basis like quarterly. So you didn't get this quarter? Okay, perfect. Apply the very next quarter, which is only a month or two away, and see if you receive that funding. Reaching out, I love foundation. Working with foundations for the relationships are a lot different than if you're doing federal. You're probably never, and correct me if I'm wrong, Abe, but you're never going to take a contracting officer or a federal employee to coffee. You're not going to do that in that day and time. Like you said, they're working from home, it's online. With a foundation, I've personally taken some foundation people to coffee just to getting to know them. It's not, this is what our organization do, especially if you've never met them before. Let's just talk. What does your organization do? What are your grant programs? What do you like to fund? This is what we do. Getting to know somebody, and then it you move on. You're not necessarily asking for the ask in a coffee, but you're just making that relationship and following back up with them and just putting a name to a person. That's great for local foundations and local organizations.
Yeah, that's a good practical tip. And in a future episode, we're going to actually dive deep into how to build relationships so that you can get more funding. So absolutely, we definitely, we'll do that there. One of the things that I've seen is this here, that when a organization is pursuing it, they're short-sighted, right? So this is another mistake of why the
Yeah.
Grinch stole your funding. You're short-sighted and you're not vested in the long-term relationship with that agency there. And so you feel like, oh man, I spent 2 hours or I spent 20 hours putting this together and now we didn't win. And so you're a little frustrated, you're angry, and that gives out negative energy. And so when negative energy meets positive energy, they don't want to be around that. And so the approach you want to take is you got to think, you know what? $700 billion of contracts available, $1.2 trillion of grants available. At any given time, there's probably about 5 million contracts available right now. Federal, state, counties, and cities. Combined between federal, state, counties, and cities, all of the contracts on an annual basis is about $2.5 trillion. So at any given time at the federal level, there's about 30 to 50,000 federal projects. And at the state and local, there's about 3.5 opportunities out there. So my point is this here. If you missed out on something, don't get frustrated.
Yeah.
There's another bus coming.
It's a revolving door.
Yeah, there's another one coming. Don't get frustrated.
So I have a question, Abe, and I don't even know if there's a statistic out there, but in your opinion, how many contracts do you think go unbidded? If you say there's 5 million on the market right now, I feel like there's probably some that slip through the cracks.
Yeah, there's a stat. I don't remember all the stats right now, but research has been done on that there. So at the federal level, when the numbers that they put out is that when they put out an opportunity, there on average there's only 7 bidders, and then they actually have a category where there are no bidders at all. So they actually have that category as well. And when there is no one submit a proposal, they at that point they sole source it to somebody else that they want, because the work still has to be done. So they still have to choose somebody. So in that situation, they just find someone that they've done work with in the past, someone that they're comfortable with. They just say, hey, I know you didn't submit a proposal, but we want to sole source this to you because we received no response.
Yeah, so I last year was working with a contracting company that does building supplies. So I was on Unisom, fedbid.com, whatever you want to call it. And there was this one bid, and it was kind of during the building period, if anybody, it was building houses, that you could not get windows. Like, people were building houses, getting almost fully built out, and then there would be a standstill for like 4 or 5 months. You could not get windows. They didn't exist. I don't know where they were, but did not exist. And that's what this bid was for windows. And so I, called my partner. I said, let's bid it. He did the research. He was like, we can't get the windows. They wanted them in 60 to 90 days. I think they kind of knew it was going to be a longer process. And he said, there's no way. Like, I'm not promising that we can get these in 60 to 90 days. So we didn't bid. Well, a couple of weeks later, I was looking through again. The same opportunity came for bid. So I called my partner again. I said, any change in windows? And same thing. No, you can't get them. They don't exist. I think I saw that bid maybe 3 to 4 different times. Every time I would ask, and it was, I guess nobody was bidding on it. And that's why it kept going to rebid. And I thought that was really interesting. I tried to bid it every time, and I never did, because the windows were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and that's because you're not in the window business every single day, right? But imagine
Yeah.
if you were if you were in the window business on a continuum, but you have more than one resource. In your situation, you only have one source.
Yeah.
If you're in the window business, you have 20, 30 different vendor sources, and so if one person didn't have it, you can fulfill it. And so sometimes people just don't win because they just don't bid. And in the state of Georgia, the Georgia lottery. Once in a while, I contribute to the state of Georgia because the money goes to funding for education and scholarship. So I'll contribute $1 to every now and then because it's for my kids going to college. But they have a rule. They say that you don't win if you don't play, right? In the government contracting world and in the grants world, you don't win if you don't submit. So you got to submit and you got to play the game.
Yeah, completely understand.
Why don't we shift gears a little bit and talk about, if you're joining us, we want to take some questions also. So if you have questions about anything about grants or contracts, put it into the chat, and we will address some of your questions. And a little bit later on, we're going to talk about some grant opportunities, and we're going to talk about a $750 million administrative management IT project that's available in any coming days now. So we're going to give you a sneak peek into what that opportunity is about. So stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll come back and talk about these grants and contract opportunities in a little bit here. But shifting gears a little bit, what are some other common mistakes that people make, Lainey, in the grant world, where they feel that I'm perfect for this here, but someone else got it? What are some other common mistakes in the grants world?
I think another common mistake that I have seen, and this is something that we're working through with our grant writing class to try to fix this problem, and it's not being able to fully explain your organization, what you're doing, your programs. So it's kind of like the elevator pitch. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me in a very brief 5 minutes everything you do. And a lot of people, they understand what they're doing, but it's when they go to tell it, they have so much information that they want to tell that they can't get out just the small little bit. We just need a high level description of what's going on. And I think that definitely applies to grant writing, because you have a narrative. A lot of these grants, it's not an open-ended narrative. You've got 1,500 characters. That's all you have. And you've got to make your point in those 1,500 characters. So being able to say what's on your brain, say what you're thinking, but having that elevator pitch down and knowing your programs, knowing, how your mission ties into those programs. And then another thing is knowing how that budget relates to those programs. So why are you asking for more money? What gaps in funding are there for your budget, and can you explain those easily? And I think that if more people would go and before you start writing, record yourself or record a conversation you have explaining somebody that knows nothing about your organization, and just explain, just talk, create your own podcast about your organization, and then go back and try to do the writing instead of doing the writing on the front end. just explaining to somebody what your organization does in 2.5 minutes or less.
Yeah, I think one of the question came in that says, "Are we mainly talking about grants today?" This is called the Grants and Contract Podcast, and really, what we're addressing is that most people make the mistake of only focusing on grants or only focusing on contracts. And what we're trying to say is that there is a crossroad between the grant world and the contract world. And so, even though you're focused on contracts because you're a for-profit organization, you miss out on the grant side to support your organization because you're not paying attention to it. Or if you are a nonprofit and you're only focused on grants, you're missing out some contract opportunities because you really don't take a look at that there. And there
Yeah.
are some really specific examples of that, right? So you have the University of Tennessee. They want to do work for their university is a nonprofit organization. They want to do work for the Department of Energy. Well, the Department of Energy, they put out some grants, but they put out a lot of contract as well. So what the University of Tennessee did was they team up with the Battelle Institute, and so they formed a new organization called the Battelle Memorial Institute, and they receive billions of contracts over the years because they have a strategic angle of we want to go as a university, we want to go after the research grants, but we also have to have a strategic reason of how we position ourselves so we can receive contract as well. And so that's true for businesses and nonprofits out there. You are better positioned when you understand both sides of this here, so that you can position yourself to work with some nonprofits and to work with some for-profit. Now, there are some of you that you should only stay in your lane, and so you do not need to cross over. You should stay in your lane, and so that's true as well.
Yeah, and our last podcast, it was about the marriage of grants and contracts. So if you haven't checked that out, I would definitely check that out. We go more into how they intersect, the differences of grants versus contract. But then another thing, it's a little spoiler. Next week, we are going to have a special guest on, and she is a perfect example of she's won contracts and she's won grants. So what do those two look like? How do they merge, and how does she make everything work?
Yes, you guys gonna really enjoy her. She's gonna share a few things. She's gonna share how she left her full-time job to pursue her dreams of being an entrepreneur and doing the nonprofit world. She runs three organizations: a childcare business, a for-profit business, and she runs a nonprofit at the same time. So she's gonna come and share her story. And then she's gonna talk about this her first project. She babysat 50 kids and got paid $27,000. So she's gonna come to share her story about that. She's gonna come and talk about her first grant that was for $220,000, and how she got that, and how she was able to use that as a reason to leave her full-time job. So there's lots of things to come and learn from our guest next week. So same time next week, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and what you're going to be hearing from this lady here, where she talks about her journey as in grants and contracts.
Yeah, so we also had another question come in, and it says, to be competitive in both grants and contracts, wouldn't that require separate capability or business purpose? And I have a perfect example of this. It was actually one of the opportunities I wanted to explain today. So Abe had just told me about his Hawaii opportunity, and so now he has my brain running on, can we get some contracts or some grants that we can travel for? Because I'm trying to hitch a ride with him to Hawaii if he gets this. And so I was looking at some different grants, and I found this one. It is called the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. And it is actually for a grant. It's for a nonprofit. So if your business did this, for example, Abe is a teacher, Guy is a teacher. They will be teaching classes in Hawaii if they win this contract. It was a contract for it. This is for a grant for a nonprofit doing the same thing, teaching women entrepreneurs through the U.S. State Department's Academy in one of the embassies across the world. So you would fly there, you would teach. And the crazy thing about this is I'm very intrigued of how long this program would be, because there's going to be 25,000 women that would be taught. So that's going to be a very large program, but it's a grant. So instead of it being a contract, it's to nonprofits. So as Abe is fulfilling that in Hawaii, he could also fulfill this on the grant side as a nonprofit teaching women entrepreneurs, because that is right up his alley. He's not having to change his services. He's not having to create, come up with something different. It's exactly what he already does. It's just a different realm.
So what Lainey is saying is, if you are a nonprofit out there and you do entrepreneurship training, reach out to GCA and we can partner with you. You could be the prime as a nonprofit. We could be your training organization to help you out with some of the technical training and so forth. So yeah, perfect team opportunities.
Yes, and we will get to travel to the U.S. Embassy in Port Louis.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, let me talk about a 750 million contracting opportunities for some of you who are here. So I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna dive into this big opportunity. And now I'm giving you a sneak peek because it has not hit the street yet. So, and this is really how you succeed in the world, right? The contract world. You want to know information before it hits the street. If once it hits the street, everybody else is seeing it, and so now everybody's scrambling for it. You want to know information before it hit the street so you can prepare for it in advance. So I'm going to give you guys inside information. So let me pull up this opportunity, and our show producer is going to put this into the chat, so that you guys can go read up on this here, right, later on after this episode here. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is a 750 million IDIQ. And IDIQ stands for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, meaning that there is a ceiling of how much they're going to spend. They don't know exactly whether they're going to spend all of that, but they will spend up to $750 million US CENTCOM, which is a sub-agency of DOD. And so a IDIQ contract is where they will choose multiple companies and then they will do task order under that there. So that's really what IDIQ is. The IDIQ total is $750 million. And they're going to put out for 20 awards, set asides for 8As and STVSB. Now, so if you're interested in this here, you say, oh man, I'm not STVSB certified. Well, reach out to us. We can connect you to STVSB companies. Or if you're saying, oh, you know what, I'm not 8A certified, I can teach you how to find. In fact, I might teach you. We're gonna do a little quick training session here, how to find 8A companies or STVSB companies so that you can reach out to them yourself. So I'm gonna do a quick lesson on that in a second here. But if you do research and no one's responding, we do have some 8A companies. We do have some STVSB that's part of our association members that may be interested in teaming with you on some of this project here. So just reach out to us. Our email is in the chat. And so my show producer is going to put it in the chat and you can reach out to us. So let's dive into this opportunity here. So a total of 20 awards. So that's the good news. It's anticipated anytime this month here, anytime right now. The award date is going to be in March. So it's going to be early next year. They're looking for 10 STVSB and 10 8A companies. And the primary NAICS code is 501611 or Administrative Management Consulting Services. The place of performance is going to be in Florida. You can be anywhere, but the work is going to be done in Florida. So it's good to have a teaming partner that's based out of Florida. And I'm going to teach you guys how to find an STVSB or an 8A company based in Florida in a second here. And then this is for 5 years, 1 base year plus 4 option years. So let's go into the work that they're looking for. They're looking for program management services to oversee and coordinate with joint military operation initiatives. They're looking for management consulting analysis to provide operational assessment, strategic recommendations. They're looking for logistic services to ensure seamless supply chain and operational readiness. They're looking for data science and IT services to deliver data analytics and manage advanced information system. They're looking for vendor threat mitigation to support and secure procurement practices and counter risk. acquisition, financial management, and language intelligence services. So any of these things here, now you don't have to do all of them. You can say, okay, we're capable of doing 2 or 3 of these here. Or if you want to bid on all of it, just bring teaming partners that can fill the gaps on some of the other areas. So this is early on. We don't know exactly the full RFP, what it's going to look like, but this is a sneak peek into it. Now, this is a new requirement, which is perfect. Historically, 70% of projects are what's called recompete. And so if it's recompete, that means there's an incumbent and your chances of winning is not that great because somebody has already favor with the contracting officers. They already have favor with the end user, the agency itself. When it's a new requirement, there is no favorite incumbents out there, and you stand just as much as a chance on this here as anybody else. So with that said, I'm going to share with you how to find 8A companies and veteran-owned businesses so that you can actually go and do some work with team with them. If you're not 8A or if you're not STVSB, or the shortcut is reach out to us. So let me go in here. The website is dsbs.sba. I'll put it in the chat. So this is the website, dsbs.sba.gov, and this should become one of your favorite websites to research. When you register your business in SAM, there is a connect.sba.gov. So you set up your additional profile on connect.sba.gov, and it goes into the public facing side of it. Looks like this here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I want to find companies based out of Florida because the place of performance is in Florida. So it doesn't matter where you're based out of. You want to find a teaming partner that ideally is based out of Florida. And I'm going to check 8A, right? I'm going to check 8A only. I can't check STUSB, but I'm the first poll here. I'm just want to look for 8A companies. And then I don't want to look for veteran owns yet at this time. And I'll come back and do veteran in a second. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put in the NAICS code. I want to find companies that have this NAICS code here. So 541611. Just double check, right? NAICS code 541611. So I'm confirming that NAICS code. I only want to find companies that say they can perform under this NAICS code here. They've listed this NAICS code in their SAM profile. That's what I'm saying here. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to, in this search result display option, this is very important. I'm going to click on this edit the columns to be displayed, because right now it's only going to find me address, city, zip, email, and narrative. I want more information than that. So I have to click on this button. It's going to pull up this little pop-up here. I'm going to take out address, city, and zip. I'm going to remove that because you need that, but I'm going to display it differently. When you say address, city, zip, it's going to put it into 2 rows. And that means my Excel, it's hard for me to move and sort items. So I'm going to remove this here for that purpose. And then I'm going to come back down. And when it says address, I just want address line 1. I don't want address, the full address, because there is a suite number. Some companies have a suite number, and that's going to bump it back into 2 rows. So I just want address line 1. I want the city. I want the, because it's in Florida, in Tampa. Hopefully I want somebody in Tampa. And then I want the state and zip code. I could do that too. But so I've got that. And then I'm going to come back and I want other things. As I'm going through this here, I want their UEI number. I already have their email address. If I click on that, it says, okay, they're already looking for the email address. So I'm already polling for that. I want their phone number, just in case I need to call them. So I'm going to click on phone number. I want their website because I want to go visit their website. I want their year established, when they were established. And as I'm clicking all this here, you see up here, it says, okay, now I'm going to, the research that is going to give me is going to give me all these items here. So, and then there's a few other things I want down here. So I want the year that they get into the 8A program, and I want the year they're going to exit out of the 8A program. And then I want some keywords about this company here. So I'm going to click on keywords. So now I've added some key things that I want this to research for me. Make sure, this is very important, make sure you click save. If you don't click save, it's not going to sort that for you. So I'm gonna click save. So now it says, okay, this system is going to search for 8A companies with all this information for me that's based in Florida. And then the last thing I want to do is where it says HTML export format, I'm gonna check this, and I want to make sure that it's XLS, Excel spreadsheet. And then I'm gonna hit search using these criteria. Now, are there any people who want to guess? Tell me the number of 8A companies in Florida that can do 501-611 into the chat. Let me see who is the closest. So I'm gonna hit search. So the question is, how many 8A companies in Florida that can do 501-611? If you want to take a wild guess. So now it's pulled this list for me, and I'm gonna go to my download button.
I'm going with 55.
Okay, someone says 30, someone says other numbers. So let me see. I'm gonna pull this up here, and we're going to look at it in a second here.
So somebody said 500.
First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my mouse here, and I want to narrow down so I can see easier. All right, so let's scroll down. Let's see how many companies out of Florida. 164 companies, 8A certified in Florida that have this NAICS code. Now, you see how powerful this database is? It gives me exactly the company name. It gives me the point of contact. It gives me the email address. It gives me the address of the location, Orlando. So this company is in Tampa, right? Place of performance is in Tampa. This is really potentially an ideal company for me to team with. And it gives me their UEI number, and it gives me their website, and I can actually go to their website. It tells me when they got into the 8A program and when they're exiting out of the 8A program, and it gives me their keywords. So now I'm looking through the keywords. Can they do this here? Do they do the data analytics? Do they do some of the things that they're talking about? And then I can engage this company. And but what I want to do is I'm going to click on this first column. I'm going to put a filter in. I'm going to click filter. Then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to uncheck everything, and I'm going to go down to Tampa. I'm going to start my engagement with company that's based out of Tampa, right? I only want Tampa. So now I can say, okay, so for Tampa companies, there's 22 companies in Tampa. Now I can start my engagement. Now, some of these here, like janitorial, right? This is not a good company for me to team with, because they do nothing close to, even though they list this NAICS code, they're not a good teaming partner. So I can actually, this is not a company, but there's some in here, some companies in here that is perfect for what we're trying to do. So counterterrorism, I mean, this is perfect for what this project is: program management, project management, data collection, analysis. This is like the perfect company for this project here. So I would reach out to Strategic Defense Solution, Reginald Gillis. He's already doing work for US SETCOM. So this is like exactly the right company to team with. Now, when you reach out to this company, you have to position yourself of why this company needs you, right? So you as you look through this opportunity, you have to come back to the Excel sheet, and you have to say, why would this company need me? So there's one other thing I want you to do. I want you to take the UEI number, right? Column J is the UEI number. So this is the company. I'm gonna highlight this company. I'm gonna take this UEI number, and I'm going to copy this UEI number, and I'm gonna go see how much contracts this company have won. So I'm gonna go to USA Spending, and I'm going to USA Spending should be one of your favorite government contracting website, and Grant Research as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Grant Research. So I have a question about the 8A. The company that you're looking at, and it could be another one, but I'm thinking it expires in 2026
Mhm.
for their 8A. So that would affect the this, right? Because it's for 1 year with 4-year extension.
Um, it does not. So the way the 8A certification work is, any work that you win while you're active in the 8A
Okay.
program, if it lasts 5 years, even though you've graduated out of the 8A program, you continue to perform those work. So it's really getting, because that company, they expire what, in
I think it's 2026.
2028 or 2020, yeah, 2028.
Oh, okay.
So even though they graduate out of the 8A program, because the contract life of the project is longer than 2028, they can continue to do work. All right, so coming to USA spending, I'm going to come here. I'm going to look for, actually, I want all years. I'm going to uncheck. I'm going to look for all years for this company. And then I'm going to come down recipient. I'm going to paste their UI number down here. Click on this little search button. And I'm going to hit submit. I want to see how much contracts this company have won. So you can see, right? They won 11 contracts, 4 million, 1 million, 1 million. So if you want to do work down there between, you can combine your past performance and their past performance, because they don't have a lot of big projects. And if you have the ability to add 2 resources together so that you can be stronger, that might be a reason why they want to team with you, right? Or it could be where you provide different aspect of this. They might be great with the data analysis or the data science. They might be great with the cyber, the threat mitigation here, but you might be great at the language intelligence. And you might be better at the acquisition and financial side of it. And so you bring in different capabilities. You have to understand how the 2 company will work together and add value to each other before you bid on it. Because if you don't have the angle, when they meet with you, they're gonna like, why do we need you, or why do you need us?
Yeah.
And then I want to come and look at the total. You can see that they've done a lot of work with DoD here. And I'm going to switch this here to years so I can kind of see. So they've been growing, right? They've been growing year after year. So this is actually a good sign that this potentially could be a good teaming partner. So 2024, they did 2.1 million. So this is a great company, great 8A company to work with. Any questions about research or any of the items that we've done here? So some of you guys have some good answers. You said, hey, you know what, 75, 300, but 173 is the right answer. So with that said, it's we're coming up to the hour here. So we're going to summarize a few things here. Next week, we're going to be talking with Bonita Clemens, and she's going to be sharing about how she left her full-time job to live her passion and do work in the government market, in the grants world. She's going to share how she babysat 50 kids for $27,000, and I want to watch 50 kids to get paid $27,000. Also, how she won her first contract. She's also going to share how she won her second contract. She's going to share mistakes that she made and things that advice she can give to you guys. She manages $10 million of grants that she wants to give out to people. And so she's going to talk about that a little bit as well. And so join us next week for that episode. But to wrap things up for this week here, Lainey, we got some goodies we want to give out. So you want to take us through that a little bit?
Yes. So first off, I'm so excited next week to talk to Bonita and just get to see. I think she's going to have so much information for us and teach us all so much about the work-life balance of grants and contracts and what that looks like. But yes, so our bonus for today, we have 2 different options. So what we're going to do is, instead of spinning the wheel this week, we are going to think of a number, which I'm going to write down the number. So if anything, it's 1 to 500. And we're going to get everybody to submit their number. And whoever gets the closest will get to pick which bonus item they would like. And we will email that to you.
So talk about the bonus. What are we giving away?
Yes. So I'm sharing my screen right now. We are giving away 2. So the first package.
Let's give away 2. How about that?
Okay,
Let's
so
give
we're giving
away
away both items. Or well, two. So you get to pick which one you want. The first item is, or the first bundle, it's called The Only Grant Writing Book You'll Ever Need. I read this book when I got started into grant writing. It is such a plethora of information. And the reason I like the book is it's more narrative style instead of informational. So it's actually fun to read and it's not like horrible to get through and makes you fall asleep. So really like this book. And then of course we have our little um Grinch ornament. We had to in honor of how the Grinch stole funding. So every time you look at it, you will remember some things that we talked about here. Our other option that you can choose between is it's a online class and it's how to win government contracts course. I've been through this class and it's amazing. Once again, a plethora of information. So just being able to choose which kind of path you're on or what would help you the most. We wanted to have some different options. So the everybody's coming through. If you're still on, I have people on and I have
I
17 people on. So let's keep
type
bringing
in
them
your
on.
number.
Yeah.
Lainey wrote down a number between 1 and 500, and we're going to take two winners. And for both winners, you get to choose whether you want the grant book or whether you want the contracting self-paced course. So choose a number 1 to 500, and the two closest. You could be over, you could be under, but the two closest, audience member here, you get to choose which of these two here that you want. So, all right, last call. Put in your number, and we're gonna do last call. Everybody can participate, so there's nothing, And if and you can choose between these two items, which one you want. Last call. Thanks for joining us here. And if you are an audience with us, if you're watching this on replay on some of our social channels, YouTube or some other channels there, Facebook or something like that, please subscribe. We do this here every single week.
Yes.
And we love sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, sharing our resources with you. And if you need more help, we at the Government Contract Association, that's what we do, right? In this industry, we support businesses to get more contract. We support organizations to get more grants. Go to our website, govassociation.org, and my show producer, well, actually, I will put in there because my show producer is on the move right now. So our website is govassociation.org. And just go to our website and learn of all the different resources, all the different ways of how we support the contract and the grants world. And we're here to be your advocate. We're here to also to give you the resources that you need to be successful. If along the way you need grant support, you need contract support, or if you just need to, you're stuck and you just, hey, I'm confused or I'm stuck on this, sir, just email us. We're here, if you just have a question, we're always here to help and find answers for you. It's time for the ritual, Lainey.
Okay, so I think this is really funny what happened in here. So Christopher Mickle was one off and then he changed his number last minute. And so the actual number that I wrote down was 351. I'll show it right here, 351. And so from what I can see is our closest people were Neray Smith and Patricia Barnes.
Woohoo!
Yay! So I'll put our email to win your prize. If you will send us an email, we will get these sent to you, and send us an email of which you would like the most, and we will get this sent to you, and hopefully it'll arrive before Christmas.
So for the book, Lainey, are you sending them a digital book or are you sending the physical book?
No, I'll be sending them the physical book.
Okay, so you'll need the address. If you want the book, email your address as well where you want it to send to. But the course, if you send us an email, we'll have your email, so we can set you up on the self-paced course. What's the wrap, Lainey? Any final thoughts before we close out today's episode?
No, I think that's it. Just join us next week. We're really excited for our special guest, and it'll be our last episode before the new year.
Yeah, I'm excited about next week. And if you're joining us, please come back and join us. And if you have friends that can use some help or can learn more, One of the big mistakes that people make is that they don't invest in themselves. And all of you, you've done the right thing, right? You invest in yourself
Mhm.
by learning, by keep on learning the grants world, the language of contracting, and all this stuff. You have to invest in yourself. But if you have friends, share the invite with them, have them come and join us too. So that's one way of how you can give back to us is by sharing our episodes here and sharing what we're doing with other people and have them come join us. So with that said, you are one contract away. And Lainey, what do you want to say?
You're one grant away
Yes,
from changing your organization.
one contract, one grant away from changing your future, changing your organization, hiring the next staff member that you want,
Mhm.
pursuing the mission that you're going after, the holiday that you want. You're one contract away. So stay tuned
Yep.
with us for another episode. And everybody, thanks for joining us. We will see you in a future episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.